Good afternoon guys. Today's video I'm going to be going through everything you need to know about radishes. Now this video is the second in my series of from seed to harvest videos, and I'll put a link to my first video which is on parsnips here. Now the idea of this series is that I'm going to show you not only the sowing of it but the planting out, and then finally the harvesting and anything that goes on in between. Now if you're like me and you watch a lot of YouTube videos or just videos in general about sowing and growing and growing your own food, there's nothing worse than clicking on a video and all it shows you is the sowing. So what I want to do in these videos is go through everything that's required in order to sort of get to the harvest. So going to start off about sowing radishes. Now the easiest way is just to direct sow. All I would do is I would just make a shallow trench about centimetre to maybe half a centimetre deep, not too shallow, and I've got a bit of space here in between some onions that didn't quite make it, so I'm just going to sort of do this bit of a trench here, and then you can get your seeds, and I'll do a quick zoom up of what the seeds look like, but they're really big, easy to handle, so you can sow them as sort of thickly or thinly as you like. It shouldn't be something that you have to thin out too much if you've got a good steady hand in terms of dropping the seeds in, and just sow a few. And the great thing with radish when you're sowing them is they will come up extremely early. Now that's direct sowing. You have got another option, and that's what I did back in January and February, which is sowing in modules. I've got the CD30 here, which you can buy from Container Wise. It only takes a small amount of compost, but it's brilliant for things like radishes. So they'll grow on, and I'll put up a picture of what they look like at about the end of January. And then I was, as these were sort of getting a bit too big for their modules, I needed to plant them out. Right, so unfortunately the video you're watching now was taken on the 11th of February, but the sound wasn't any good. Now, what I did is I sowed some radish seeds in modules under cover on the 27th of January. Then on the 11th of February, so that's just about 2 weeks after sowing, they're about ready to be transplanted, and they're very leggy seedlings. So what I was doing is I was making a hole in the soil with a sort of dibber. In this case, it was just a handle of a sort of weeding tool that I had, and then I was pushing the radishes in. Now the key with radishes, especially that time of year where you've sown them and they haven't had very much light, is they're quite leggy, so it's really important that you bury the plant as much as you can, in this case up to about the first 2 leaves. Now I didn't wait really until they were very much bigger than just having the first 2 leaves. You could wait until you see a 3rd leaf, but then they're getting a bit large for the pot, so you can plant them really as soon as you think they're ready, and they'll get their roots in the ground and get underway. So here we are now, the 11th of April. This is exactly 10 weeks since sowing, to the day almost, but it's about 8 weeks from when I was here transplanting them. Now I've got some quite big ones in front of me, and I pulled one up a couple days ago, and I'll put a picture up on the screen. It was pristine, it was perfect, and they're not all going to be like that. So there's an element here of being happy with what you get, but I'm going to pull 2 up here, and we're going to see what we've got. I'll do some close-ups once I've got them, but I find just twisting them is the best way. Oh, a bit of slug damage, but a nice round one there. And then there's the one next to him, which is the bigger one, and again he's gone a bit long and tubular, but 2 very good eating radishes there. So yeah. So there you go, that is sowing and growing radishes. Dead easy and super quick. These were harvested within 10 weeks of sowing, and I reckon you could get that down to 8 weeks by sowing sort of now while it's a bit warmer and a bit lighter. Now, these are the sort of very common radishes. A lot of the sort of, when you think of a radish, they're the sort of red spherical things. But one thing worth mentioning is the sort of Japanese daikon radishes. The only difference to these, and I'll do a little close-up of the seed packet and things, is that they're you sow them at the sort of late summer so that they come ready in the sort of autumn and even early winter time. So again, very similar, really great for space saving and things. Now on sort of space saving, one of the really key things I like about radishes, and the reason I'm very keen on growing them, is they're really good space fillers. So if you've got, like, say 2 rows of carrots, you can sow the radishes in between them, and they will come ready long before they compete with the carrots for space and water and light and things. And the same goes for leeks, garlic, even onions, lots of those slow growing crops. You can get a quick sort of cash crop of radishes, without really impacting on the harvest of the other crops. Finally, just before I end this video, in terms of storing your radishes, they will store in the fridge for about 1 to 2 weeks, and they'll store maybe about 2 to 4 days at sort of an ambient condition. So, you know, they're obviously best eaten fresh, but if you did want to store them, the fridge is probably the best way to do it. Now, I really hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope it told you everything you need to know about radishes. If you've got any questions, do put them in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.